Hello everyone, my name is Michael Jones. This week my presentation is on themes involving early theories in a public administration scenario. My scenario involves something that was a change that has already been made and already taken place and has already been implemented. I chose it even though it has already occurred because I feel like it's a good example to explain how the change affects the organization as well as the public interest and serving that need in public interest. I'm referring to the CalFresh program, also known as Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance. This is a food program that to be eligible you must meet eligibility requirements and provide proof of any necessary verifications, and to do so you have to complete an interview. And this interview has in the past been typically done in person in an office, face to face, but it has now become mostly done over the phone in most cases. And this has really been a change to the way business is done that has a good effect on the organization. I identified a few themes that really illustrate how this simple change is going to be accomplished and some of the implications of it. One of those things is on resources in the organization, humans, the budget, hard assets, and along those lines, I'm moving beyond Taylor's efficiency and I'm going towards the principles of management. Such a decision is kind of an executive decision, and that makes us think of Gulick and his POSCorp, and also Lindblom with his principles of administration. They're still kind of looking at the organizational factors, but they're beginning to change the way management is looking at the decision, and so that is one of the things. A second theme that when a decision like this is made, you really have to think about how are the employees going to react to this? Are the employees going to buy into this? Are they going to feel like this is going to be a positive thing? And so we have to look at sort of the psychology of the situation, and in that case we're starting to think about Maslow, his hierarchy of needs, and we're also looking at McGregor, his XY theory. How is this going to be delegated? What are the expectations going to be? Do we believe that the employees are going to naturally adjust to this and it's all taken into account? Is the employee going to feel like they're accomplishing their job better? Does that actually happen or not? Overall, in this situation the example I gave, it for the most part is a positive thing that does enable us to accomplish that. And so that's one component theme. The third theme is maintaining the public interest, and here we're thinking about how does the organization ensure that they can maintain its legitimacy. So we're looking at Selznick's co-optation theory and thinking about, does this change affect that legitimacy? Does it increase it? What does the public think about it? And it's just an interesting way to kind of look at it from a larger picture perspective. And also with Riddle and Weber, we have the wicked problems, which this may not the specific example may not fall into that category entirely. However, it's representative of other overall problems that are more profound. Hunger and poverty and homelessness and other things that exist in our society that are considered to be difficult to solve problems. So that's worth mentioning here, and that's part of what our organization deals with, and part of how we are able to be effective is by looking at from these different perspectives. In the management and coordination of resources, we're definitely looking at our scarce resources And we want to see if we make a change that might help serve the public interest better, are we going to be able to be successful in doing that? What kind of effects is that going to have? So we have to go beyond efficiency and get a little bit more towards being effective, really. And to do that, we have to be able to do more than specialize. We also have to be able to organize our resources and our time effectively. And that's kind of Gulick's 7 principles of management. He's homogenizing, and he's using the manager to follow along with a style that enables him to effectively control the situation. Charles Lindblom is also applicable here. His Proverbs of Administration is on the verge of getting into an actual decision and policy way of thinking, but he's still looking at organizational factors, and the example of the telephone is representative of switching up factors of the business model that can make things run more effectively again. And in Lindblom's case, his method is applicable in decentralized systems as well, and leans more towards having a mutual buy-in from both sides, which is going to lead into our next concept as well. So in addition to organizational factors, the manager also has to look at the motivation system of his employees. And as I said, it was in my example of doing telephone interviews, it can be mutually beneficial to the customer as well, which is obviously a big part of the reason for making the change. And so in some senses, you can look at motivation from the perspective of the client as well, but we're really mostly focused on how the manager looks at things. And Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs really encompasses the human being in general, but it's something that is worthwhile looking at because it begins to look at what drives motivation. And right at the bottom we see basic needs, food and water, and the need for safety and security, leading up to our self-actualization, which is something that is difficult to achieve and we rarely reach it. But this gets us thinking about what is going to drive the productivity that we want to see in our environment. And in this change that was considered, and that is something that is hopefully accomplished by easing the burden on both the worker and the customer. I would say that Douglas McGregor's XY theory is also applicable in this situation, because the decision to do more non-face-to-face, rather over the phone interviews, is a prudent decision for a manager to make, thinking about money and other aspects of the enterprise, but it also enables, following along with Maslow's theory, a more consultative form of management. And without changing the structure of the organization, it gives a certain degree of decentralization to the worker to work and communicate more effectively with the customer. And so it's really looking at influencing behavior by being more of a Y theory type of manager style. Finally, we have maintaining the public interest, which is something that we, other than when we make a decision to make a change like going to telephone interviews, we have to ensure that we accomplish that goal successfully, but we also have to make sure that that decision is in keeping with our goal and our mandate to maintain the public interest. And along those lines, we're also thinking about protecting our reputation and the legitimacy of our organization. And that brings up Selznick and the cooptative mechanism. Selznick said that co-optation reflects a state of tension between formal authority and social power. And it's definitely true, especially in this aspect of government, which has a split opinion generally, but it's very important. And we have to take that into account when we make a decision to waive a face-to-face interview requirement. We realize that we're potentially improving our business practices. We're going to serve people more effectively, and that's going to lead to more compliance with our standards. That's going to lead to better performance, happier employees, etc. And so those are different kinds of things that we have to take into account on all levels, as Selznick points out with co-optation. I also think that Riddle and Weber's Wicked Problems is valid to this aspect. My specific example regarding the telephone issue, it may not necessarily be itself a wicked problem, but it is a difficult issue. It's an ongoing thing that we deal with, and we have a very continuous process that we go through, and being able to effectively keep a line of communication and get things done is an ongoing problem, but it also is representative of a much deeper set of issues with, as I had mentioned, homelessness and hunger. So we are definitely thinking about not necessarily what's right or wrong. We're looking at what's better and what's worse. And there's not always a perfectly clear solution, and that's another thing that managers are looking at is how clear is the set of solutions that we have, and it all comes together overall. Definitely applicable to the situation and some of the various themes that we can look at with all these different theories to determine how to judge and how to make a change be more effective in an organization. Thank you.